Okay, in this section, I've put together just kind of a handful of random uh, tips for putting together a performance session in Live 11. So the first thing we need to dive into is key and MIDI mappings. We've talked about these a little bit here and there, but they're most important now when we're talking about setting up a performance session for DJing. So, the key thing to remember is that we have these two buttons up here, key and MIDI. Key mapping is going to let you map anything on this, okay? MIDI mapping is going to let you connect more or less any other kind of controller you have connected to your computer. So with key mapping, if I press it, anything orange can now be mapped to a key, okay? Now there's one important thing you have to consider here. Let's say I just want to launch this clip every time I press the A button. Okay, there, I pressed. So all I have to do is click on the thing that I want to map, and then click on or press the thing that I want to map it to. So I just clicked on this clip. That's a tongue twister. And then I pressed A. And now those things are mapped. So now I'm going to turn off mapping. Now every time I press A, I'm going to launch that clip. But it doesn't work, right? And up here you see things turn red. Ah! When things are turning red at you, it generally means something's wrong. What's happening here, the reason that mapping isn't working, is because I have this computer MIDI keyboard turned on. That means my keypad is acting like a MIDI keyboard, which can be handy if you don't have a keyboard to input notes on and things like that. Using your keypad can be handy. But if I map notes, now I've got a key doing multiple things, right? The letter A is supposed to play a MIDI note and launch this clip, so it's confused. So that's what this red blinking here is saying. It's saying, I don't know what you want me to do. So in order for this MIDI mapping or this key mapping to work, I have to turn off the computer MIDI keyboard. Now when I press A, I'm going to launch that clip. Okay. So key mapping, just make sure that you turn off computer MIDI keyboard if you want to do anything. Anything can be mapped. Also note that you get some extra little controls that come up. See this row of play buttons and this row of play, stop, and then some arrow keys here. These are kind of extra things that only come up when we're in the mapping mode, right? They come up in MIDI mapping mode also. Okay, but what this means is play the currently selected clip. Okay, so I'm going to map that to, I don't know, Q. Okay, and then I'm going to map this arrow up to E and arrow down to R. Okay, I'm going to turn off key mapping. Now what this means is, see how this scene is lighter gray? That means it's selected. So with my E and R now, I can move that selection up or down, right? And now with Q, I can launch whichever one, on this track anyway, that we have selected. So I could go down here and say launch that one by pressing Q. Launch that one. If I now go up to here, we can launch that one. Okay, so when is this useful? I found this most useful when I'm using a foot pedal. And the way I actually do it is not with this. So I'm going to click on this one and press delete. That's going to get rid of that mapping. But I'm going to go to the scene. And now I'm going to press, I don't know, Q. Okay, so now what I have is I can go up and down and then launch that whole scene. Right, when I get there, then I can move to another one, launch that scene. Right, so now I can move up or down and launch the scene. So if I did this with MIDI mapping and I had a foot pedal, and this is how my performance setup used to work, I would dedicate one foot pedal to be up and one foot pedal to be down, and I would go up and down with those 2 feet pedals, and then one foot pedal to be launch. I used a Behringer FC1010 foot pedal. It's around here somewhere. And it has 10 pedals on it. So 3 of them could be devoted to moving up and down and then launching a scene. So don't forget about these extra little row of things you get when you're in mapping mode. MIDI mapping mode works the same. You just click thing, anything that's blue can be mapped. So let's say you wanted to do something strange, like you wanted to turn on or off the metronome when you move some kind of slider or any other kind of controller you've got that could do it. Now, in order for this to work properly, make sure that in your preferences and MIDI, you've got remote selected on whatever it is you want to control things. Okay, now that I have remote selected, I could go to metronome, press, I don't know, I'll press a note. Okay, I pressed C. So now whenever I play the note C, if I turn off MIDI mapping mode, it's going to turn on my metronome. So if it's off, it's going to turn it back on. So that's cool. So anything blue, you can map. Loop points, start, stop, arm to record, tempo. This is like nudging the tempo. Anything in your plugins, anything in your mixer, lots of stuff. You can have a lot of fun with that.